Tonight is the 4th of September, and this is the 4th night we are talking the Theragatha. We come to the group of 7 verses, verse number 459. Ornamented, well, this is by Sundara Samuda. Ornamented, well-dressed, carrying a garland, adorned, with her feet reddened with lac, having put on slippers, a courtesan, 460, taking off her slippers, standing before me with cupped hands, spoke to me softly and sweetly with a smile. 461. You are young to have gone forth, abide in my teaching, enjoy human sensual pleasures. I shall give you wealth, I promise you truly, I shall indeed bring fire. 462. When we are both old, supported by sticks, we shall both go forth. Both ways it will be a winning throw. 463. And when I saw that courtesan beseeching me with cupped hands, ornamented, well-dressed, like a snare of death spread out. 464. Then reason thinking arose in me. The peril became clear. Disgust with the world was established. 465. Then my mind was released. See the essential rightness of the Dhamma. The 3 knowledges have been obtained. The Buddha's teaching has been done. So this Sundara Samuda, he must be young and very handsome. That's why this courtesan. Courtesan is like a geisha, high-class prostitute, to put it bluntly. And must be quite beautiful also. And offered him wealth and all that. But this monk, he must have already attained the 4 jhanas. His mind was not so easily moved. Only when you have strong samadhi, the mind is not easily moved. And then he saw the danger, contemplated the Dhamma and attained enlightenment. That's quite rare. Somebody in that type of situation can become enlightened. Khuddaka 466. In the thicket of trees on the far side of the Ambataka Park, Badya, having plucked out craving, root and all, meditates, happy indeed. This monk is actually called Khuddaka Badya. 467. Some delight in drums, lutes and cymbals, but at the foot of a tree I delight in the Buddha's teaching. 468. If the Buddha were to give me a boon, a wish, and if I were to obtain that boon, I should choose for the whole world perpetual mindfulness concerning the body. 469. Those people who have judged me by my appearance and those who have followed me because of my voice, being under the influence of desire and passion, do not know me. 470. The fool, having obstructions all around, does not comprehend the inside and does not see the outside. He indeed is misled by my voice. 471. One who sees the external fruit does not comprehend the inside, but does not see the outside, even if he is misled by my voice. 472. One who sees without obstructions fully comprehends the inside and sees the outside. He is not misled by my voice. Maybe he has an extremely nice voice. A lot of people follow him. Just like nowadays, some singers have a lot of followers. Bada, 473. I was an only child, dear to my mother and dear to my father. I obtained by many performances of vows and petitions. I was obtained by many performances of vows and petitions. That means his parents prayed for him and made vows and all that to get this son. 474. And both of them, my mother and father, from sympathy, wishing me well, seeking my good, brought me near to the Buddha. 475. This son was obtained with difficulty. He is delicate and has prospered in happiness. We give him to you, protector, as an attendant for the conqueror. 476. And the teacher, receiving me, said this to Ananda, send him forth quickly, this one will be a thoroughbred. 477. Having sent me forth, the teacher, the conqueror, entered the monastery. The sun had not yet set, then my mind was released. 478. Then the teacher, not neglecting me, rising up from his solitary meditation, said to me, "Come, Buddha." That was my ordination. 479. I received ordination when I was 7 years old. The 3 knowledges have been obtained. Hail to the essential rightness of the Dhamma. So this is another one. 7 years old became Arahant. It must be very special. The parents probably said was obtained by many performances of vows and petitions, probably the only son, and gave him to the Buddha. And the Buddha saw that this one is a thoroughbred, and probably taught him the Dhamma and the meditation. By the same day, became enlightened. And once a person is enlightened, then he has to renounce. He's no more the same person. So normally 7 years old, they don't take the higher ordination. They are normally just given the papaja, which is a samanera. But in his case, because he was already an arahant, he was given the ordination, meaning the bhikkhu status. So Paka, 480, seeing the best of men pacing up and down in the shade of the terrace, going up to him there, I worshipped the best of men. 481. Putting my robe over one shoulder, clasping my hands together, I paced up and down behind the stainless one, the best of all creatures. 482. Then he, skilled in questions, knowing, asked me questions. Fearless and unafraid, I replied to the teacher. 483. When the questions had been answered, the Tathagata was pleased. Looking around the Sangha of monks, he said this. 484. Good for those of Anga and Magadha, whose robe, begging bowl and requisites, lodgings, reverence and homage, this one enjoys. Good for them, he said. 485. From this day onwards, Sopaka, come to see me when you wish, and let this be your ordination, Sopaka. 486. Having received ordination at the age of 7, I bear my last body. Hail to the essential rightness of the Dhamma. Quite a number of 7-year-old arahants. This one, another one. This one must have been a samanera. So he saw the Buddha walking meditation. He also walked behind the Buddha. When the Buddha asked him questions, he could answer without any fear. So, but he doesn't actually say what age he became enlightened. He says he was ordained at the age of 7. Sarabhanga, 487. Having broken off reeds with my hands, having made a hut, I dwelt there. Therefore, by common consent, my name was Reed Breaker, Sarabhanga. 488. It is not fitting for me to break off reeds with my hands now. The precepts of training have been laid down for us by the famous Gautama. 489. I, Sarabhanga, did not previously see the whole complete disease. This disease has now been seen by me, doing the bidding of the one above the Devas. 490. By the very road by which Vipassi went, by the very road by which Sikhi, Vesabu, Kakusanda, Kona, Gamana, and Kassapa, by the straight path went Gautama. These are all the previous Buddhas, Sammasambuddhas. 491. The 7 Buddhas are rid of craving, without grasping, plunging into annihilation, by whom, having become righteousness, venerable, this Dhamma was taught. 492. Namely the 4 noble truths, from compassion for living creatures, pain its arising, the path, the suppression and complete annihilation of pain or suffering. 493. In which the endless pain in journeying on comes to an end. After the breaking up of this body and the complete annihilation of life, there is no other renewed existence. I am completely released in every aspect. Now we come to a group of 8 verses. Mahakachayana, 494. One should not do much work. One should avoid people. One should not exert oneself. He who is greedy and desirous of flavors misses the goal which brings happiness. 495. They know that this respect and homage in high-born families is truly a bauble, a fine dart, hard to extract. Honor is hard for a worthless man to give up. 496. It is not with reference to another's action that a mortal's action is evil. Of one's own accord, one should not practice it, for mortals are the kinsmen of their own action. 497. One is not a thief by the word of another. One is not a sage by the word of another. But as the self knows one, so do the devas too know one. 498. Others too do not know that we come to an end here. But those who have good knowledge in this respect, thereby their quarrels cease. 499. The wise man lives indeed even after the loss of his wealth. But if he does not obtain wisdom, even a rich man is not alive. 500. One hears all with the ear, one sees all with the eye, and a wise man ought not to reject everything which is seen or heard. 501. One with eyes should be as though blind, one with ears as though deaf, one with wisdom as though stupid, one with strength as though weak. Then when the goal has been attained, what should lie on the bed of death? So other people's opinions not so important, but we know ourselves, our real self, and the devas and the ghosts also know our real self. Sri Mitta, 502. Without anger and rancor, undeceitful and devoid of slander, truly such a monk does not grieve when he has thus passed away. 503. Without anger and rancor, undeceitful and devoid of slander, always with sense doors guarded, a monk does not grieve when he has thus passed away. 504. Without anger and rancor, undeceitful and devoid of slander, a monk who is of good virtue does not grieve when he has thus passed away. 505. Without anger and rancor, undeceitful and devoid of slander, a monk with good friends does not grieve when he has thus passed away. 506. Without anger and rancor, undeceitful and devoid of slander, a monk of good wisdom does not grieve when he has thus passed away. 507. Whose faith in the Tathagata is unmoving and well-founded, whose virtue is good, pleasing to the noble ones and praised. 508. Who has trust in the Sangha, and whose sight has become straight, him they call not poor, his life is not in vain. 509. Therefore, a prudent man, remembering the Buddha's teaching, should devote himself to faith, virtue, trust of faith, and vision of the Dhamma. Mahapantaka. The other day we heard verses from Chula Pantaka. Now it's Mahapantaka, the brother. 510. When I first saw the teacher who has no fear from any quarter, agitation came upon me, having seen the best of men. 511. Would anyone transgress who bowed down his head with hands and feet, worshipping such a teacher when he came? 512. Then I abandoned children and wife, and money and grain. Cutting off my hair and beard, I went forth into the homeless state. 513. Possessed of training and right livelihood, well controlled in my faculties, revering the fully enlightened one, I dwell unconquered. 514. Then a resolve arose, longed for by my heart. I would not sit down even for a moment while the dart of craving was not withdrawn. 515. See my energy and effort as I dwell thus. The three knowledges have been obtained. The Buddha's teaching has been done. 516. I know my former habitation or past life. My Deva I is purified. I am an Arahant, worthy of gifts. I am completely released, without basis for rebirth. 517. Then at the end of night, towards sunrise, having dried up all craving, I sat cross-legged. So this is one of those Arahants who left the family, wife and children, and his property and money, everything. Now I come to the group of 9 verses, Buddha 518. When the clever man, knowing that old age and death, to which ignorant individuals are attached, are painful, diagnosing pain, meditates, truly mindful, he does not find greater contentment than this. 519. When having struck down attachment, the bringer of suffering and craving, the bringer of suffering arising from the aggregate of the diversified world, he meditates, truly mindful, he does not find greater contentment than this. 520. When having seen by wisdom the blissful eightfold path, the best of paths, cleanser of all defilements, he meditates, truly mindful, he does not find greater contentment than this. 521. When he develops the sorrowless, stainless, causally undetermined, peaceful place, cleanser of all defilements, and cutter of bonds and fetters, he does not find greater contentment than this. 522. When in the sky the thundercloud rumbles, full of torrents of rain, all around on the path of birds, and the monk who has gone into the cave meditates, he does not find greater contentment than this. 523. When seated on the bank of rivers covered with flowers, with garlands of variegated woodland plants, happy indeed he meditates, he does not find greater contentment than this. 524. When at night in a lonely grove, while the sky rains, the fanged animals roar, and the monk who has gone into the cave meditates, he does not find greater contentment than this. 525. When having kept his own thoughts in check inside a mountain, having taken refuge in a mountain cleft, rid of distress and rid of barrenness of mind, he meditates, he does not find greater contentment than this. 526. When happy, destroying stain, barrenness of mind and grief, without obstruction, without craving, dart-free, having indeed put an end to all asavas, he meditates, he does not find greater contentment than this. So if a monk stays in seclusion and he can experience one-pointedness of mind, he's very happy and contented. Now we come to the group of 10 verses. Kalu Udayin. 527. The trees are now crimson, Lord, having shed their old foliage, about to fruit. They illuminate as though a flame. The time partakes of flavor, great hero. 528. The delightful trees in bloom diffuse their scent all around in all directions, having shed their petals, hoping for fruit. It is time to go forth from here, hero. 529. It is not too cold, nor again too hot. The season is pleasant, fit for a journey, Lord. Let the Sakyas and Kolyas see you facing west, crossing in the river Rohini. 530. The field is ploughed in hope. In hope the seed is sown. In hope merchants go to sea, bringing back wealth. Let that hope of mine in which I stand be realized. 531. Again and again they sow the seed. Again and again Deva king reigns. Again and again farmers plough the field. Again and again grain comes to the kingdom. 532. Again and again beggars wander. Again and again master givers give. Again and again master givers, having given, go to the heavenly place. 533. A hero of great wisdom indeed cleanses 7 generations in whatever family he is born. I think, Sakya, you are the Deva of Devas, for you begot the sage who is truly named. 534. The father of the great seer is called Suddhodana, but the Buddha's mother was called Maya, who, having cherished the Bodhisattva in her womb, after the breaking up of the body, rejoices in the 3 heavens. 535. She, Gotami, having died, having descended from here, being possessed of Deva-like sensual pleasures, rejoices in 5 strands of sensual pleasures, surrounded by those groups of Devas. 536. I am the son of the Buddha, who endures what is beyond endurance, the son of the incomparable venerable Angirasa. You, Sakya, are my father's father. Truly, you are my grandfather, Gautama. So maybe this monk is talking to the Buddha's father. See, 533, a hero of great wisdom cleanses 7 generations. There's this belief that if a person goes forth as a monk, he benefits 7 generations. 3 generations before him and 3 generations after him, and the same generation as him. That means his parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and then this children, and then grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and also his brothers and sisters. Eka Vihariya, 537. If no one else is found in front or behind, it is very pleasant for one dwelling alone in the wood. 538. Come then, I shall go alone to the forest praised by the Buddha, which is pleasant for a resolute monk dwelling alone. 539. Alone, pursuing my aim, I shall quickly enter the grove, which gives joy to sages, is delightful, and is haunted by rutting elephants. 540. In well-flowered Sita Vana, in a cool mountain cave, having sprinkled my limbs, I shall pace up and down alone. 541. When shall I dwell alone, companionless, in the pleasant great wood, my task done, without asavas? 542. May my intention prosper as I desire to act thus. I myself shall bring it to pass. No one can act for another. 543. I myself am binding on my armor. I shall enter the grove, nor shall I come forth from there until I have gained the annihilation of the asavas. 544. While the wind blows cool and sweet-smelling, I shall split ignorance asunder as I sit on the mountain top. 545. In the flower-covered wood, and now in the cool cave, I shall enjoy myself on Giribhaja, delighted by the happiness of release. 546. I am he whose intentions are fulfilled, like the moon on the 15th day. I have completely annihilated all my asavas. There is now no renewed existence. You see, 541, he says, when shall I dwell alone, companionless, in the pleasant great wood, my task done? This one, although he was dwelling physically alone, but if he has a lot of stray thoughts and all that, then he has a companion. But if he has attained enlightenment, then the mind has stopped working, so he has no more companion, then he's really dwelling alone. Now we come to Mahakapina. Mahakapina, if you remember, in the previous sutta, the Buddha said he's lean with a bent nose or something, but he's great psychic powers. 547. Neither enemies nor well-wishers, when they see a weak spot in him who sees the future in advance, both the beneficial thing and the unbeneficial. 548. He who has perfected, well-developed, and practiced in due order mindfulness of breathing, as taught by the Buddha, illumines this world like the moon released from a cloud. 549. Truly my mind is purified, unlimited, well-developed, having penetrated and having been applied. It illuminates all the quarters. 550. The wise man lives indeed even after the loss of his wealth, but if he does not obtain wisdom, even a rich man is not alive. 551. Wisdom discerns what is heard. Wisdom increases fame and reputation. In this world, a man with wisdom finds happiness even in pain. 552. This is not a rule for today only. It is not amazing or even strange. When one is born, one dies. What indeed is strange in that? 553. For death is certain immediately after life, for anyone who is born. All who are born die here, for of such a nature are living creatures. 554. For what is of advantage to the lives of other men is of no advantage to a dead man. In the case of a dead man, there is weeping, not fame, nor being well known in the world, nor being praised by Brahmins and ascetics. 555. Weeping impairs the eye and the body. Color and strength and intellect are ruined. The weeper's enemies become joyful. His well-wishers are not happy. 556. Therefore, one should wish to have prudent men and those of great learning dwelling in one's family, who by the power of their wisdom get to the end of their duty, as one gets to the far bank of a full river by boat. Chula Pantaka. This is the brother of Mahapantaka. 557. Sluggish was my progress. Formerly I was despised, and my brother turned me away, saying, "Go home now." 558. Being turned away at the gateway of the Sangha's monastery, I stood there discouraged, full of longing for the teaching. 559. The Blessed One came there. He touched my head. Taking me by the arm, he led me into the Sangha's monastery. 560. From compassion, the teacher gave me a towel for my feet, saying, "Take careful possession of this pure thing on one side." 561. Hearing his bidding, I remained delighting in his teaching. I practiced meditation for the attainment of the supreme goal. 562. I know my former habitation. My Deva eye is purified. The three knowledges have been obtained. The Buddha's teaching has been done. 563. Fashioning my shape on my body 1,000 times, I, Pantaka, sat in the pleasant mango grove until the announcement of the time. 564. Then the teacher sent a messenger to me to announce the time. When the time had been announced, I approached him through the air. 565. Having worshipped the teacher's feet, I sat down on one side. Perceiving that I was seated, then the teacher received the gift. 566. Recipient of the offerings of the whole world, receiver of sacrifices, field of merit for mankind, he received the gift. This Chula Pantaka, after he renounced, when he was given a meditation object, he could not meditate. So they taught him for some time, he still could not meditate, and nobody could to help him to make progress. And then they got annoyed with him, and the brother asked him to go home. Then when he came out of the monastery, he was very dejected. So the Buddha came to him, and I think this story is in the Dhammapada commentary, and gave him a towel to clean. And then when he used the towel, then when the towel was dirty, I meditated on it. And then it seems he attained concentration or whatnot. And later he had attained great psychic power. So his body could multiply 1,000 bodies. Kappa 567, full of stains of different sorts, a great producer of excrement, like a stagnant pool, a great tumor, a great wound. 568, full of pus and blood, immersed in a privy or lavatory, trickling with water, the body always oozes foully. 569, having a binding of 60 tendons, plastered with fleshy plaster, girt with a jacket of skin, the foul body is worthless. 570. Linked together with a skeleton of bones, with bonds of sinew threads, it produces its various postures by the union of many things. 571. Set out with certainty for death in the vicinity of King Death, a man who has abandoned it, in this very place, goes where he wishes. 572. The body is covered with ignorance, tied with the fourfold tie. The body is sinking down in the flood, caught in the web of latent tendencies. 563. Joined with the 5 hindrances, afflicted with thought, followed by the root of craving, covered with the covering of delusion. 574. Thus this body exists, subject to the compulsion of action, but existing has cessation at its end. Having had various existences, it perishes. 575. The blind, ordinary individuals who cherish this body fill up the terrible cemetery. They take on renewed existence. 576. Those who avoid this body like a dung-smeared snake, having spurned the root of existence, will be quenched without asavas. This 572, the fourfold tie, as opposed to this fourfold tie, the Pali word is ganta, supposed to mean four things: covetousness, ill will, attachment to rules and rituals, and dogmatic fanaticism. Next one is Upasena Vanganta Putta, 577. This is another famous Arahant. For the sake of solitary meditation, a monk should resort to a lodging which is secluded, with little sound, haunted by beasts of prey. 578. Having fetched odds and ends from rubbish heap, this one is also odds and ends of cloth from rubbish heap, cemetery and streets, having made a rough outer robe, he should wear the coarse robe. This is called the Pangsukula Chivara, Pangsukula robe, discarded cloth he picks up to make a robe. 579. Making his mind humble, a monk should wander for alms from family to family without exception, with sense doors guarded, well restrained. 580. But he should be content even with coarse food. He should not seek other flavor in abundance. The mind of one who is greedy for flavors does not delight in meditation. 581. But the sage should live desiring little indeed, contented, secluded, not living in company with householders, nor homeless ones alike. 582. He should make himself appear as a dull person or a fool. A clever man should not speak excessively in the midst of the Sangha. 583. He should not insult anyone. He should avoid hurting anyone. He should be restrained by the rules of training and should know moderation in eating. 584. He should have appearance well grasped, being skilled in the origin of mind. He should devote himself to calm and insight at the right time. 585. Possessed of energy and perseverance, he should always be earnest in application of mind. But the clever man should not be confident until he has gained the end of pain. 586. When he dwells thus, desirous of purity, all amongst asavas are annihilated, and he attains to quenching. So a wise person should make himself appear as a dull person or a fool. Then he's not so popular. Then he has more time to meditate. Gautama, 587. One should know one's own goal. One should take a careful look at the Buddha's word and at whatever would be fitting here for one who has entered upon the ascetic state. 588. A noble friendship here, an undertaking full of training and obedience to teachers. This is fitting for an ascetic. 589. Respect towards the Buddha, homage to the Dhamma as is proper, thinking highly of the Sangha. This is fitting for an ascetic. 590. A purified and blameless livelihood, joined with good behavior and association, and the settling of the mind. This is fitting for an ascetic. 591. A manner of acting and a way of avoidance, pious deportment and exertion in higher thinking. This is fitting for an ascetic. 592. Forest lodgings, secluded, with little noise, fit for a sage to resort to. This is fitting for an ascetic. 593. Both virtue and great learning, investigation into the true nature of the conditions of existence, right understanding of the truths. This is fitting for an ascetic. 594. Thinking that it is impermanent, one should develop the conception of non-self and the conception of the loathsome and discontent with the world. This is fitting for an ascetic. 595. One should develop the constituents of enlightenment, bojjhanga, the elements of supernormal power, the iddhipada, faculties and powers, and the noble eightfold path. This is fitting for an ascetic. 596. A sage should abandon craving. He should split the asavas asunder, root and all. He should dwell released. This is fitting for an ascetic.